This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Have you ever approached an overhang while driving your RV and wondered, can I make it? Well, on today's show, we are joined by Frank Nugent, owner of GiraffeG4 Systems. This is an easy-to-install add-on for your RV that uses sound waves to determine clearance heights and if you can safely drive your RV under the area without causing costly damage to your RV. And this is all without getting out of your RV, making it very easy. Frank sits down with us and tells us what inspired him to come up with the idea, how the system works, what type of testing and changes have they made to the system, and how easy it is to install and use. So let's jump into the conversation with Frank.
So hi, Frank. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. And I guess first, if we could start out just by you telling us a little bit about yourself, about your background.
Okay. Frank Nugent. When I got out of college, I drove a tractor trailer for a couple of years. I went to school in New York City University, grew up in the Bronx, and now live about 20 miles north of New York City. And then spent about 25 years in the film business, doing TV commercials mostly across the U.S. and a couple in Canada and then a couple in Europe, producing and production managing film productions, different places. And then after that, for the last, half dozen years or so, I've been driving a tractor trailer again for theatrical productions in New York City. Be it equipment trucks, wardrobe trucks, or stuff like that, for TV shows and movies that they shoot in the city. And now I'm sort of semi-retired, and then working with the GiraffeG4.
Driving the truck in the city, man, that's a challenge right there.
Yeah, it is, especially if it's a 53-footer. But you sort of have to know, when you first start, you have to realize that if you don't go 3 lanes wide to the right, and then you have to be willing to stop traffic and just don't let everybody honking at you and calling your names bother you, which you have to do. Then that's what you could. Otherwise, you're going to hit somebody and you're going to be stuck, and then they'll really be mad. So you go and then you sit tight and you wait till the light changes, and now you should be not going, and now you pull out around everybody because it's too tight a turn to pull into a street. Plus, you have to know what streets never to go down. So there's a lot of that.
It sounds stressful, or it sounds like it could be.
It is. It could be stressful, yeah. But I guess you just get used to it, and you sort of, you just realize that it's not going to be in it, like anywhere else driving. It's just going to be. The things I described, you're going to make big, wide turns, and the police aren't going to bother you because they know that's what you have to do, and
right.
That's it. So you just learn, how to handle it, and then very often on a TV show, they'll have assigned parking to you, so they already have signs up so that you can pull into a space that's manageable. They don't let you try to wait for people to leave their spots. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on, but it's not bad. You get used to it, like anything else, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of that's how I had clipped a couple of things, because very often things on the East Coast here are mismarked. Like they have a lot of old trestles and a lot of old elevated subways, so I had clipped the top of a van one day, the top of a dry van, and then sort of realized that became very aware of overhead collision damage, and what it can cost you, and how it's your fault regardless. So I learned that too,
So is that what inspired the product? Is this a product that you developed as a result of that?
Yeah, that's what, I had been driving a truck, and all truck drivers really know that low clearance is a situation that nobody who really drives tall trucks knows that the signs are wrong, or they haven't changed the sign, or the road crew's been through and added 3 inches of asphalt and didn't tell the sign crew to change that sign. And so I clipped a couple of things. Not hard, just sort of crunched a corner of a big trailer, And then I was on a stage one day, and I saw guys they're going to hang some scenery. So they were using a laser to measure how much rope they needed to, instead of dropping something from the ceiling, they shot a beam up. And I just thought, that would be good for trucks, because knowing that, trucks could use that. So that was sort of the beginning of the Giraffe G4. So we started our research at that point.
And I know you said that they were minor incidents, but even minor incidents and minor crumble spots on a RV or a trailer is actually big money to fix and repair.
Yeah, it is big money. I mean, the integrity, especially on trucks, the integrity of the trailer you're pulling is sort of held together very often by what you're carrying it inside. It's not a heavy duty thing. It's very light, the trailer. So if but as far as RV, I had clients that they just took a little bit off their AC unit. It cost them $7,000 on.
Yeah.
Because with the fiberglass roofs, and their AC just got torn up, but it tore a big hole in the fiberglass roof, and blah, blah, blah. And they were going like 2 miles an hour. They were in a gas station, and they had added tanks in the gas station. So they went in the front side, and they came out the back side, and it was 3 inches higher because of the new tanks. It was different than the sign, and it cost them $7,000. Not only that, it cost them their vacation. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the other thing about RVs. If you get you get in an RV, you get an accident. Next thing you know, you're sitting somewhere in a hotel waiting for the parts to come in for it to be fixed. They were nice enough to give us a statement on our website about how much trouble it cost them.
So how long were you just marketing to trucks before you found the benefits to the RV industry?
Well, exactly. We were at one of our first shows at Iowa 80. Iowa 80 is a big truck stop in the middle of Iowa, and one of the guys said to me, you should be selling this to RVs, and I said, I didn't know much about the RV industry. I had camped a lot, with my family as a kid, and my wife and my kids, and my son's a big hiker, but we never had an RV. We're on the East Coast, and we go to the beach or we go camping, but we never had an RV. But he said, listen, RV folks, they're getting very tall. He had an RV. He was a truck guy, but he knew the RV, and he was from the Midwest. And he said, you should really be marketing to RV. So we started going to RV shows. We've been to all sorts of RV shows, and we realized that we just needed a couple of adapters. The funny thing about RV people, when we go to these shows, I'll ask potential clients, how tall is your RV? They don't know. Yeah. But very often they'll say, well, if I see a big truck go under something, then I think I can go. And I sort of have to square them up and say, listen, trucks they come in the height, tractor trailers come 12 foot, 12.6, 13.6. So you may see a tractor trailer go under, and he's 13 feet tall, and you're 13.3, and he's going to make it, and you're not.
Yeah.
So, but they don't know, because it's kind of tricky. You have to climb up on the roof, and you have to, measure it, make sure, and then it has, but truckers know, so they always know their height. They're very aware of it, but folks get out of just pulling a pickup truck or a car, and they get a nice tall RV, which they're very proud of and excited about, which they should be. And next thing you know, they're pulling something as tall as the tallest truck out on the road, man. You ever seen them on the road? They look monstrous now. Those fifth wheels?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're great looking. They're great looking, but they're as big as trucks, or bigger. They're actually bigger, some of them.
And like you said, you might think you're going to fit, but based on the sign, but the sign might not have been changed when the last time they did road construction.
No, they don't change the signs half the time. I mean, it's, like anything else, as you know. I mean, we'll get to it in the spring. We got so much going on now, and and then a lot of kids mess with the sign. I mean, it's just, there's so many low things, especially trestles, but some of the folks are hitting things in gas station awnings. They'll see in truck stops. If you go in a truck stop, you'll see that they have signs, but even those are not great. It's just sort of on your own. You're on your own, and if you hit it, I mean, it's not just the money. It's it's what it's costing you. It might be somebody traveling, and got to be somewhere at some time.
Yeah, Walmart's even starting to put overhangs at their parking lots because they don't want the RVs or really tractor trailers, I guess, in their parking lots sleeping there. So they're putting they're putting the overhangs over to keep you out.
Yeah, they're not letting anybody in because it's I guess they have those big parking lots, But the RVs, plus just very often too, the folks like the Class B and Class C, we deal with those folks sometimes now. these new vans that they're making Class C's out of, like these Ford Sprinters and these Mercedes Benzes, they go as high as 9 foot 10 inches. They're making everything on the road nice and clear. If they see 11 feet or 12 feet or 13 feet, but they'll go into a parking lot, or they'll go into a hotel awning, and they're not built to handle that height. Plus, they don't really have signs, so we're getting a lot of those clients that are calling us now, which is, I hate anybody to get into it's such a drag,
I know somebody that destroyed their bicycles they had their bicycles on top of their truck and went into a hotel, and they went in the overhang and forgot they had bicycles sticking up there, and there went the bikes.
Well, that's it. If you're not used to thinking overhead, you just don't. I mean, I think with some truck rental companies, they don't even give overhead insurance, because you're going to move and you got 3 of your friends together, and you're going to move, and next thing you know, you're pulling into somebody's garage or backing in, or you're not used to thinking, you're 12 feet high as opposed to I'm in my my SUV or my car, and so that's how it started. And I will tell you one thing that's interesting is most folks want to measure from a distance. You know what I mean? They say, well, Frank, how I need to really know a block away how far, how high the bridge is, because we don't want to go down there, because once we go down there, we don't want to have to back out. But there is nothing that measures from a distance. There's a geometric reason why, and actually we have 3 U.S. patents in one of our art. You do a art discovery thing, prior art they call it, for a patent. Like if you have an idea for something and you look and see what prior art is according to what you make, and they'll let you know all the versions of what you're attempting to do. So there's like 14 versions of trying to measure from a distance with radar, and none of them worked out because first of all, it would tell you how high it is from where you are, and not when you're under it.
Right.
And actually, if you remember your high school math, knowing 2 sides and the angles of a triangle, then you can figure out the length of the third side, which essentially would be the height. But getting a clear shot off the ground or off, it hasn't happened yet. So I guess we just talk to people a lot about it. We just tell them, listen, I mean, you're better off backing out. If you hit something, that's the worst thing, But if you back out, I mean, you slow down, you put your flashes on, and you get help backing out.
This is a laser, did you say?
No, we started out when we started out with our engineers. I'm not an engineer. We tested lasers, but they didn't work in any kind of weather. So if it rained or snowed, then it wouldn't work, because then the laser. So what it is sound waves. It sends up essentially something like radar, but it's a sound wave that goes up and back, and it goes back into the sensor, and it refreshes itself 4 times a second. So you do have some time. I mean, folks want to know from a block away, or I say a block because I'm in the city. I grew up in the Bronx.
Right.
They want to know from 100. I don't know if everybody calls it blocks. It's not going to happen, and it doesn't exist. So you pull up, and let's say you're pulling a 5th wheel, or even if you have an a B or a C or a Class A, and then the tow unit measures for you. Okay, so it lets you know. So let's say it's a 2-part system. It has a exterior sensor, and then it has an interior display. So if you've set it at 13.3 because your 5th wheel is 13.3 feet high, you'll set it at that. And if you measure it before you go and it says 14 feet, then you know you're clear. And as you go under it continues to measure. So every four times a second. So if it starts to, it's not just the initial measurement, it continues to measure. So on your display, you're seeing it measure. So let's say it told you it was 14, but now it's starting to get low, as you go in, because the road has changed, and it'll continue. And then once it hits 13.3, then it flashes and beeps and tells you stop. But at that point, the height is still behind you, maybe 15 or 20 feet.
So it's actually giving you a height measurement. It's not just giving you a green light or a red light. You're actually seeing a display, and it's telling you.
Yeah, it actually gives you the height. It'll say 13 feet 9 inches, and then it'll go, if it goes in, it'll just keep telling 13.8, 13.7, 13.6, and then go back to 14. It keeps giving you heights. But once you're out and it's clear sky, it just shows you 3 bars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how it works. And so we ended up with sound waves because the laser wouldn't work. Plus, lasers are a lot more expensive. So we tried to make it so that it wasn't thousands of bucks.
So you mount it, so I have a 5th wheel, and I pull it with my pickup truck, and so I would mount it somewhere on the front of the truck.
Yeah, you'd mount it on the hood. We have a magnet mount, unless you have a Ford. Some of the newer model Fords are aluminum, and so a magnet doesn't work with them. But if you, we have they're all $19. We have another adapter that goes right on the hood, not the front of the hood, but right to the hood by the windshield wipers. And everything we have is rust proof. It's all stainless steel, or it's powder coated aluminum, and all the screws, so there's no rust, and you don't have to drill any holes. So you would mount it on your magnet mount. You put it on. You can either put it on the roof of your truck, or you put it on the hood. And then if you're parked in a campsite and you're no longer pulling your fifth wheel, you're going to be there a little bit. You don't need it anymore, and you just take the magnet off. So you haven't drilled any holes. You haven't drilled any holes in anything we make. Somebody's got a nice truck, they don't want to put holes in it.
And then you have to tell.
You program in the height of the fifth wheel you're pulling. Let's say 13 feet. And then you program the height that the sensor is mounted at, let's say 5 feet already. And then the sensor knows that it's 5 feet, and the sensor sends up a signal, and it does the math, and it comes back. So if the sensor comes back and it says it's 9 feet away, so the machine does the math, and so now you've got a 5 foot and 9 feet, so it's 14 feet. But you don't see the math, but that's how it works.
Oh, okay. So it does all the calculating for you.
It does, it does all the calculating. It does it under all conditions. It does it snowpack or whatever's going on. And plus the other thing, with RVs is sometimes they're heavier than other times. So if you buy an RV, let's say you take a fifth wheel and you pull in a dually. You got a dually which is built to carry a lot more weight, so it'll ride higher. Mm-hmm. So the fifth wheel or the travel trailer, whatever, you will ride higher than you think it is, unless you can't, like you got a Ford 150 that has a regular set of wheels and doesn't have the heavy-duty suspension. Yeah. So it's very important that RV folks actually know the measurement, what it is, not because the dealers, they'll sell it to you, and then you might put stuff in there, and then you put, you got a travel trailer, or you got stuff up front, you got all your equipment up front, in one of the bunk beds, and you've added 500 pounds, so it's dropped a couple of inches, so it's just important to know the real height. I was amazed at how many people didn't know the height. When I talk to somebody and I'd say, that's a beautiful new machine. They got a beautiful new fifth wheel, and I'd say, well, how tall is it? Because we'd be chatting about how this works. And he'd say, well, I don't really know. The catalog says 13.3, but he says they do that. That's what it measures in the showroom. But on the street, it's different. On the street, everything's different. You might have stuff in you. So it's good that an inch or two can make a difference. A lot of folks probably set it, if they're protecting 13.3, they'll set it at 13.4 or 13.5, give themselves a little bit of space, just in case, just to be sure. It's worth it,
I was just recently in Texas, and I was going into Galveston, and there was a bunch of road construction, so there was some detour signs. And right. I came up to a spot where it said the height of the overpass was 13.7, and
right.
I'm pretty confident that my fifth wheel is 13.6, but I slowed down to like 2 miles an hour going underneath that overpass.
Yeah.
And we made it. So I guess it is 13.6, but that's where something like this would have really come in handy.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, they might the sign may give you a couple of inches too. What happens is what everybody does. The truckers have something called the bump and run. You know what I mean? So they're not sure of something. I've even done it myself. So you go like you did 1 mile an hour back, and then if you just touch it, but you really can't touch a fiberglass roof like you can touch the top of a truck. You just don't want to do it, man. You put a little bend in fiberglass, and next thing you know. But what the situation that prevails exactly what, like you said, is what we try to design it about,
So what's the accuracy of the device?
It's within an inch. It's within an inch.
Okay.
Oh, here's how the accuracy as it works is within an inch between 2 feet and 12 feet.
Okay.
So it works off of an inducer. So let's say, if you want to measure, 13. You want to measure 13 feet. You can put it anywhere from 1 foot off the ground to anywhere up, but after 12 feet, it's not within an inch. Okay. So we could have made it less accurate and had more have more distance to cover. Do you know what I mean? You could have made it covers 1 foot to 20 feet, but in order to have it right within an inch, and it's usually right on. I mean, what it is sometimes, we had the engineers again, make it so that it made any kind of adjustments, so, but right on the money between 2 feet. It's actually 1 foot 8 inches and 12 feet. Okay, and the reason 12 feet because you would never put it on your hood because it also needs a straight shot at the sky. So we've had some truckers, not RV folks, but put it near an antenna so it spreads out a little bit as it goes up. So you need a clear shot at the sky, So you really can't put it on the nose of your. But we also, for folks who have a class B or class C, we have another adapter that'll go right on the nose of their Ford or their Mercedes Sprinter, and I think Dodge has a couple of them going now,
So that would be the same for a Class A too, right?
Class A is tricky. Class A is not, the Class A would have to go on the mirror. I mean, there's not much lead on a Class A, okay? We do sell some Class A's, and we speak to them, and they like it, but they're looking, they're tall, but very often the highest spot, we tell them, the highest spot on theirs is the AC unit, that they have some of them have 2 AC units in the antenna, so they don't have much lead in unless they have those side mirrors, some of the Class A's that have the mirrors that are forward, so you look at them through the windshield, So you're looking ahead a little bit. And then there are some that have the windows where you're looking through the door like on a regular car. You're not looking forward, you're looking side view, know.
Yeah.
But some of them have that forward view. So if the forward view, you get a little bit of time, and with the side view, you don't get as much time because at that point your roof you're really underneath it. Not like when you have a tow vehicle. And at that point, you're really underneath it.
Okay.
But it also gives them if they're making it in, let's say like you guys ran into, I think they're usually in the 12-foot range, the Class A's. So, if it says, 13 and they've got, 8 inches of AC unit, then as they travel under, it'll give them a warning. And usually if you got a diesel pusher and you spent $150 to $200, some of those things are beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's worth it to know,
I wanted to back up a little bit, Frank, and go back to the install. Yeah. You said that it's a magnet that attaches to the hood. What powers it? Do you run it to a battery? Your battery?
Yeah, you run it to the 12 volt. Yeah, it has a. Okay. It has a. It's not wireless. We were again in our research. We were hoping for wireless, but the fact that it needs to be accurate. Okay, to within an inch, we needed to use shielded wire. So It goes right through the door. So we've sold tons of them, and nobody ever had a problem with the wire. If you put it on the forward, you can even run the wire. Like if you're in a B or C, you can get some of those wire cover that you just run the wire through the wire cover, and then it's protected from the that automotive people use, and then you just have a little run from the. It runs off the 12 volt.
Okay, so this is something I guess. People are just installing this themselves. They don't need to take it to a service center to have it installed?
Nah, they don't need it at all. As long as they're willing to get up and get a square measurement on the height of the AC unit or the antenna. That's the most important thing, is that they get the accurate measurement. But it's nothing to it. It'll take 5 minutes, You just everything just, it takes 5 to 10 minutes. Even on our website, we have a how to install video.
Okay.
If they want to check, but it's nothing to it.
And then is the readout that it's reading when it's reading your measurements? Is that part of it? That's not wireless then either, right? There's some type of wire.
Yeah, that has a wire. The wire there's a wire from the sensor, and then there's a display unit inside, which the wire from the sensor and the power wire go into.
Okay.
So that just fits on your dashboard. A lot of folks get those, those phone. We sell them actually too. They get those phone holders with a little magnet on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll hold it there. Yeah. It works. Yeah. And then once you program it in, it's set. You never have to, every time you turn it on, you don't have to reprogram it. Once it's set for you. Now, there are two things on it. Folks, it can either stay on forever, okay, or it can play for a minute and then you have to recharge it. But if some folks like it when it stays on forever, because the thing is, sometimes when you're going over 50 miles per hour, it'll give you a wind shear. So since it works off of sound waves, so it's always on, but it's not always reading. So if you want it just for a minute, it's always on, and then you hit it and it's on. You don't have to. But if you just want to leave it on all the time, sometimes over 50, it'll give you a reading because of a wind shear, since it works off of sound waves. Now, we learned this too. Sound waves will bounce off the wind like it's a wind going up and send it back in and give you a funky reading.
At what speeds does it work? Is it accurate? So less than 5 miles an hour?
No, it'll work up to 25 miles per hour.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
It'll work up. It works up to, because it works off of sound waves. So essentially, you're going, I mean, if it's measuring, you're going 9 feet. So what is a mile a second sound wave? So you're getting it right back. So it'll work up to 25 miles per hour. You know, I mean, it'll even work faster than that. But you won't read every reading, but it'll lock in. So if you're going, it's really not for highways. You know what I mean? Folks say, well, a highway, because highways are, unless they have a sign, okay, they have to be, according to the law, unless they have a sign, they have to be at least 14 feet high. Right. If it's 14 feet high or above, then they don't need a sign. So RVers, this is mostly for situations like, so if you see trucks going on a big highway you're not going to hit those. You know, you don't see them. It's off-road where RVers are hit, and truckers actually. It's off-road in places like you mentioned, and then, you know, our clients and then it'll do trees. It doesn't do trees so great in the summer because there's a lot of leaves.
Right, I got you.
And I mean, it goes up and it disperses the sound waves, but it still does work if you have access to the tree that'll bother you. But it works better in the winter in trees. I don't want to tell people that, it'll tell you any trees, but honestly...
I was going to ask about trees, too. That was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah, it does work with trees, but it doesn't work as well when there's a big leaf cover, you know, and it's hanging down. And it'll read the tree, and it works on wires up to 2 inches in diameter. Again, that's another thing we learned. We tested that. It will not do like a cable wire, you know what I mean, or a single phone wire, you know, but again, by law, those are supposed to be 14 feet in the air, you know. So
I've seen some of those heavy cables down pretty low, though.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen them lower than 14.
You think so?
I think I have.
Heavy duty ones.
Yeah, the big ones.
Yeah, I've seen them pretty low. I feel like up in the Pocono area, but maybe not. Maybe it was after a storm.
Could be with snow on them or something, you know. But I think this. I mean, because can you imagine? I mean, they kill somebody with that. I mean, just take their AC off on it. You know, they. What else? It'll like the other things you mentioned. Those are the things, especially for an RV, that you have to watch out for, because it's just RV drivers. It's a little different. You're not a professional driver yet. I mean, you're going to learn to be, because you're going to say, "Wow." You just realize there's so many things above you that you never sweated when you were, you know, driving a truck or a car. You know,
that's the truth.
And it sounds like you guys put a lot of research to the design. Was there a lot of revisions? Did you go through a lot of revisions? Did you start with laser and then switch it over to the sonar? Or did you already know that you never even started with the laser? You just knew that the laser wasn't going to work, so you started out with the sonar?
No, we started out with laser. I mean, that's where we started all our initial testing, and we didn't make a product that had laser, because once you decide which way you're going to go, the PCB or the control boards would be a whole different deal with laser than it would be with sound waves, you know. So we did it. You know, they didn't build a whole board, but you did a laser setup, and the laser tests were, you know, on the road and in weather. You know, and it became clear right away that in weather, they just said it doesn't work. If it's raining, it doesn't work, you know. So it couldn't have something that didn't work in the rain. So the sound worked, you know, we tested it in the shower and on the road, and it just works. It just goes through weather. So we did, I mean, it was a couple of months of the laser testing, you know, because that was when I had the initial idea that truckers could use the measurement thing. We did it with laser, but it didn't work. So then, you know, there were a lot of versions of the sound thing, because a lot of stuff I really can't explain, you know, because the electrical engineers would tell me in
Gotcha.
Sort of a different language than I speak.
Oh,
you know, you guys engineers?
No. No, we wouldn't understand it either.
Yes.
Sean has.
Have you ever talked? I mean, my God. I mean, I learned sort of, but even so, even if you know how to sort of work around it, man, it's like, you know, how long could this take? It could be an hour. It could be 3 days. You know, it's like, oh my God. You know, so we went through a lot of that. you know, and but it was fun. They're good guys, you know, and they really, and the funny thing is, they're sort of like artists. I found the engineers. I mean, they each have their own version of how they would do it. If you work with one guy and then you work with another guy to get a little something, he says, I wouldn't have done it this way, but I can fix this. You know, it's
Gotcha.
like that. But you know what I mean? I can. You know, it's like mechanics. It's like everybody actually in the world. I wouldn't have done it this way, but I'll do it for you. It took a lot longer. Like I said, it was over a year. I figured, boom, boom, you know, but it just took a lot of time. And actually, we used to make it in China. You know, we make it in the U.S. now. It's made in Minnesota.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's made in, and all our engineers are American, and they were originally too, but we was initially when we first started making it, we made it in, it was in China, and then we had it, and then we had and I'm not knocking the Chinese, but we had one version that became a little troublesome, so we just found somebody, and we work with folks in Massachusetts and Minnesota, and it just, it's just easier. The communication is easier, so it is a little more expensive for us, and maybe for our clients, but I don't know. It's glad to do the Made in the USA thing. It's kind of fun.
When did you first get to market with it, Frank?
We got to market with it about 2012, I think.
Oh.
About 2012. Yeah, we've been in the market a long while. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won some awards at shows, best new product, things, this, that, and the other thing, and it's been a build because we're self-financed. Since we're the only product in the market, that's both a good thing and it's both not a great thing because people aren't familiar. You know, overhead collision. You know, now there's a lot of forward collision places going now.
Yeah.
We're actually we're discussing with those folks about licensing our patents to adding overhead collision to like our low clearance collision, the forward collision systems that they operate on for trucks and also for RVs, because a lot of the trucks we're talking about that do the towing now have forward collision systems. So we're talking about that, you know. And everybody wants to know why this has never happened, you know, like overhead collisions, you know, and it's hard to explain. It's essentially what we talked about earlier, which is measuring from a distance, you know, measuring, because people have tried and tried, but it's never worked measuring from a distance for the reasons we talked about. So that's why we're actually the only people that make a product that you can, on the spot, in the situation, regardless of what the sign says, you know yourself what it is you're going to pass under and what's it going to be like on the exit side.
You had mentioned like people who rent U-Haul trucks and Ryder trucks and things like that, and they take them out and they might not be aware that how tall they are. Have you talked to U-Haul and Ryder and try to get them on their, like every Ryder truck, every U-Haul truck? I would imagine that would save them damages and an insurance, and I would imagine it would save them in the long run.
You know, we have three patents. We'd much rather work with somebody than have because they're big and we're little. We'd much rather.
It's interesting to me that you said you guys were self-funded. Do you have a lot of partners, or is it just a small? I mean, I think it would be an expensive endeavor. Not saying anything about your wealth, Frank. I have no idea. You could be a billionaire for all I know. But
it's been I mean, you really want to know. I mean, it's you know, we are self-financed, you know, meaning me and my son who works with me, and any money we make, we put back into it, advertising and patent work and buying parts and, you know, paying for tooling and all of that. We've paid for it, you know, and and any average, so, you know, we spend a lot of money on it. It's exactly what you think. I don't want to say numbers, but, you know, somebody might say, what are you, fool? It's going to be okay, I think. I think it's going to be okay, you know. We've worked very hard at it. And learned a lot, man. I mean, most of the stuff I'm telling you, I learned the first time. Do you know what I mean, guys? Like when you asked me about lasers, I didn't know shit about lasers, you know, and then I had to learn about lasers, you know, I had to pay to learn about lasers, you know, and I didn't know shit about sound waves, you know. Now I had to learn about sound waves, you know. I didn't know anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about patents and people, you know, prior art for patent. But you learn this, but you pay for it. You know what I mean? I mean, you learn as you go. You say, oh, God. And the guy says, oh, you can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, that's how you learn, man, you know.
It's not easy, right? I mean, I think a lot of times people, like you said, it took a little bit longer than you originally thought to get it to market. And I would imagine that's pretty common. I think maybe people do have this idea that, I came up with this great idea. I'm going to get it to market. It's going to be maybe not a breeze, but it's more difficult than what you probably originally planned.
much more. I mean, yeah, you think, hey, it's a great idea, but everybody's great idea. But then you start getting, and yeah, never heard of that. I mean, I actually remember the first show we went to, some kid said, this is a genius idea,
Yeah.
I said, wow, we just started this. I mean, this is, 7 years ago, and this is genius, he says to me. I said, all right, great. And but yeah, it's a tremendous amount of, I mean, and it just takes so much more, and you just got to learn as you go. And I'm not knocking, my son helped a lot, and, I'm not blowing my own horn, but it's stick-to-itiveness sort of that has kept it, and then when you get sort of halfway in, you're like, I mean, do I want to get halfway out of this? I mean, I've already done that. I might be close to the end here. I might be that dull light at the end of the tunnel. See that little flicker going on up the end of the tunnel there? That could be it. And then you get closer. No, that wasn't it. That was just, that was fool's gold, reflecting the sun, But you're absolutely right, man. I mean, that's the deal. You think, hey, this is a great idea, and there are plenty of companies that will help you with that idea. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you think you got it. And then there are great ideas. And some of them I think, because you always hear stories of people say, yeah, you had a great idea and bang. And, they like the pet rock or something. Like, I wish I'd invented the pet rock. Right? I mean, you go away and you become a full-time RVer. And, 6 months later, people looking at your pet rock saying, what was I thinking? They were giving it away at parties at the time, right?
Yeah. Mine has always been, I wish I was the guy that thought of taking a shower rod and just bending it a little bit and making it curve, because now I see it in every single hotel every time I go somewhere.
Like bending it out, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what does it do? What does it do, though?
It gives you a little bit more space in the shower. So, it's
there you go, exactly.
And it's just a simple idea. All he did was take the shower rod and bend it, and now it's in every single hotel across the country.
Right. But what you would have done then, exactly, you would have looked, and you would have looked at prior art, and then you would have seen that this was tried, and this one and that, and then you would have gone to a big company, right? Mm-hmm. And they would have said, okay, good idea. And then you would have had to, you know what I mean? I mean, it becomes, but maybe not. I mean, maybe not. Maybe someone says, bend the rod, man. I mean, and then you would get you get a provisional patent, right? So you have an idea. So you protect the idea. You know how that works. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with that. So you pay for the provisional idea. So that's good for 1 year, okay? So you have the 1 year, we have the provisional patent, and then you have to come up with something within the year, right? So, but it used to be people would just do provisional patents that were like bullshit. They would just like, bang. And then they'd say, I got to find somebody. But that's what you do. And then maybe during that year, you do find somebody, okay, that says, yeah, I'll put the money behind it. And then where's it going to be manufactured and who's going to make it?
No, but it's great that you had the drive to come up with the idea and then to stick through it until you got it to the market, and now it's being successful, and now you're selling it. I think that's amazing that you have that drive to see it through and make it work.
Well, I hope. Yeah, I mean, there's drive, and then there's stubborn stupidity. You know what I mean? Which, if you ask my wife, she might say, yeah, well, you're crazy. You know what I mean? It's not just, there's nothing movies are made about. I mean, they just, this, I don't know if it's, it is what it is. I mean, now we're at the point, I mean, licensing the patent idea was essential. We should have done it earlier. I mean, when you see stuff, you say, shit, I wish I'd done that. Why didn't I think of that 3 years ago? Or why didn't I, because somebody who a client you have suggests it to you. Do you know what I mean? Why don't you I wouldn't do RV. I wouldn't have known about RVs until the guy at the first show said, you should sell these to RV people, because they're big, they're getting big. I got one, and I could use it. He didn't buy one, of course, but but he gave us the idea. The RV people, I mean, those are the best shows, because we went to the Escapees group,
Oh, yeah.
Escapees? Are you guys Escapees? I mean,
we are.
They're so nice.
Yeah,
they're the nicest people. And I'm not just kidding. I mean, it was like, I was wondering it was like, the folks who work in Trader Joe's, that crowd. I mean, they're so nice. It's like, whoa, what are you guys all taking? I mean,
right.
I maybe a little, that feeling, Trader Joe's, that feeling, we can take it out of this, but oh my God, this person is so nice. You can somebody carrying 8 boxes. You say, where the Raisin Bran is? And they'll put the 8 boxes down and go running, right?
Yeah.
Running to the back. It's nice. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, my God, we went to an Escapees show, and they were so nice to each other. And so I'm just, I am a New Yorker, so New Yorkers are nice. They're just a little bit more abrupt.
Abrasively nice.
There you go. There you go. But, yeah, the escapees crowd is, they're really nice. I mean, all RVers are nice. They're just sweet. I don't know. They're just, I mean, there's something to be said for the lifestyle because how can you not be that nice if you're really enjoying yourself?
Are you working on any other products, or is the one you're focused on?
This one we're still... there's something in all of the diesel trucks. Now, if we license our patents, we have to follow the J1939 protocol, which is sort of a communication system for heavy duty trucks around the world. So what happens is all these auto guys who design things, so that like if you bring something to a trucking company or to a big tier one original equipment manufacturer, and it has to follow so that your thing that you brought isn't speaking English and they're speaking Spanish. So they all follow this J1939 protocol, right? Okay. So anything that goes in a big truck or like a diesel pusher or something like that, has to follow the J1939 protocol. So we're in the middle of upgrading to the J1930. So we work with what they work with. You know what I mean? So there's still a lot going on. No, we don't have any other products going.
Okay. It sounds like you're pretty busy with this one.
Yeah. We've hit a spot here where we're really getting kind of real busy, which is good.
If people are interested in the product, how do they get it, see it, all that stuff?
Camping World carries it. Some of the stores carry it, some don't. So they'd have to ask, and then they can call us. And if they want to see it, they can just ask their dealer. We have a dealership deal, so that if they go to their dealer and say, look, I want to see the GiraffeG4, they call us and we get it to them within a day or two.
Oh, okay.
Some carry it, some don't carry it. We don't have that kind of extensive distribution. Plus, has a 30-day money back, so we don't get hardly any back. But if they get it and they don't like it, they can send it back. If they like their dealership, and they'll just ask the dealership, and the dealership will call us, and we distribute it directly. It's a good product. Am I allowed to say that? Works
yes,
good.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Made in the USA works good.
Made in the USA is definitely important.
Yeah. No, we're proud of that kind of. It's just nice to be able to do. But
we'll put a link in our show notes for your website, so anybody that's listening right now, they'll be able to go down to our show notes, click the link, and it'll bring them right to their website, right to your website, and they'll be able to read more about the product and see where they can get it.
Before we let you go, is there anything else you would like our listeners to know about you or your product?
They're welcome to call anytime, because we're here and we answer questions if they have any questions. You don't get a machine, or if you get a machine, we'll call you back. And go to the website, and any questions, just give us a holler, or the website, and we answer questions. You get a lot of people say, that the customer service was so great, which it is. We look after the people that we sell them to or that are interested in our product. We appreciate it very much.
That's it, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It was fun to talk to Frank and learn all about the GiraffeG4 and how it can help drivers navigate the roads with a little more confidence. It was also great to get some honest feedback on the trials of building a new product. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Battleborn Batteries, once again. Kenny and I both swear by them for power in our RVs. They are definitely the best name in the RV and marine industry. See you all in 2 weeks.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.